The Virginia Cavaliers tampered with Isaiah Augustave and somehow didn't make sure that his credits would work.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Like I said, I'm Kevin Borba. I host Locked On Buffs, and I also cover them for Athlon Sports, where I'm diving into all things Colorado, recruiting, transfer portal, shenanigans, NFL draft, whatever it is, I got you covered. So let's talk about what I thought was one of the bigger losses for the Buffs this offseason in the transfer portal, Isaiah Augustave. He was a guy who they get from Arkansas, former blue chip recruit that I don't think we saw his best in Boulder, but at the same time, we've yet to see a running back really succeed under Deion Sanders' regime, if you will, right? Colorado has struggled to run the ball the past couple of years. That's no secret. And so losing Isaiah Augustave, who was the team's leading rusher with 384 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4.5 yards per carry, was a pretty big blow to the system because they put in so much work this offseason to upgrade the offensive line, right? They brought in Xavier Hill, Xylon Chrysler. They brought in Zarian McGill. Like, they brought in, I think, 7, possibly 8, depending on how a certain visit goes with another lineman. They brought in 7 offensive linemen through the portal. They have Jordan Seaton. They brought in a handful of high school recruits that they may hope to play right away. And Isaiah Augustave decides, you know what? It's just, I'm good, right? I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go to Virginia, right? I think you gotta. I think people, when you realize how much he was being offered, it was a very large sum of money. And I mean, Virginia, not a better team than Colorado, but at the end of the day, for some of these guys, when they get offered life-changing money, it's hard for them to not turn, or it's hard for them to turn it down, right? And Virginia's running back situation last year wasn't great by any means. Their leading rusher, Kobe Pace, was a senior, and then Xavier Brown, a junior, but he rushed for 488 yards on 80 carries. So it felt like the job was open there. They were offering him money. And then all of a sudden, in the past few days, it comes out that, he can't transfer to Virginia because, and according to a report, UVA had not publicly announced this, but there was issues with credits matching up from Colorado or Arkansas, and it hit a snag, and the running back is no longer a part of the roster. So whatever it was, clearly there was an academic thing where Virginia, who's one of the better academic institutions in college athletics, they were unable to take Isaiah. And so he now is back on the market. And for one, I think this is a failed example of tampering. I think this is why there really needs to be someone needs to enforce it, whether it's Nick Saban or the committee that Donald Trump is putting together, whatever it is. Someone needs to help fix the sport, right? Because this young man's life was sort of impacted, and I don't know if he got the money or not, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm speaking on him getting his cash, but for S&Gs, let's say he didn't get the money. He leaves Colorado, where he had an opportunity to start, probably was going to be the starter, and then, or at least would have opened the year as a starter. I think he finished as a starter last year, and he displayed some nice things, right? But this young man, not only do I not love the fact that they could back channel and tamper with him, but they back channel and tamper with him without knowing what's going to transfer over, or what does or what does not. And I think that's just a prime example of where college football is, because now the program just goes, oh, well, we're just going to move on to another running back. It is what it is. Whereas Isaiah has to figure out, like, where am I going to finish my career, right? Where am I going to play this next year? Because teams all have their rosters set for the most part. I think a return to Colorado, I don't know if it's on the table right now, but I feel like both parties should at least be interested. Colorado added 1 running back in DeKalen Taylor from the portal, but we've yet to see, DeKalen played really well at Incarnate Word, but we've yet to see anything out of him in Boulder. We've yet to see anything out of Dallin Hayden. Charlie Offerdahl is not the answer. I think he's got some ability, but I don't think he's the answer. Michael Welch was a true freshman last year, had some bright moments, but injuries derailed him. Like, what does he look like this year? I don't know. We haven't seen him yet. So if you're Colorado, I think you kind of overlook it, or at least go, you know what? We understand that you felt like you had a better opportunity financially. And I think of all people, Deion Sanders would probably not be against that, because, I mean, he's always been pro player. And I think right now you kind of have to understand that players are taking advantage of the situation that they're in terms of there's no rules, there's no regulations that the NCAA can actually enforce, because if they do try to enforce anything, they get sued. So it's one of those things where it's like, you can't be mad at a player for trying to better their life, better their opportunity, their career, when there's no rules in place, right? If you were offered, say, and he was not offered $1 million. I want to say it was like 50,000 or something like that. Say you were offered $1 million. This is a dramatic example, to leave your dream job or whatever. They're going to pay you $1 million more to go work at this other company to do something similar, maybe not as good, but you're doing something similar and you're getting paid more. I would say most people would probably take that money, right? Because money talks, and I think people forget that. And so Isaiah had a prime opportunity to go do something for his family. He has a child that we all know, and it just seemed like Virginia was the better opportunity at the time. And I feel like there was so much more. There's a lot of people like shooting him down and being like, we should never take him back. Guess what? Colorado hasn't had a good running back yet. Isaiah Augustave, excuse me. I was going to say Isaiah Augustine. I don't know why. Isaiah Augustave is technically the best running back of the Coach Prime era. Like, by statistically, Dylan Edwards the year before led the team in rushing with 321 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. Savion Wilkerson led the team with 3 touchdowns that year. Dylan Edwards has led the Coach Prime era in rushing yards, average yards per carry, not counting Charlie Offerdahl, who had 26 carries. And then he also has 4 rushing touchdowns, right? Are these dramatic numbers? No. Are these easily to replace? I mean, if Colorado runs the dang ball, maybe. But again, I liked what he brought to the table at times. And I thought at 6'2", he brings a different power speed combo that Colorado doesn't have, right? Dallin Hayden's 5'10", 205. Obviously, he's got a little power there. And Michael Welch is 5'9", 205. And so I just felt that 6'2", 210, Isaiah Augustave has the speed, the power. He was the most successful back with the terrible offensive line last year. So imagine what he could do with a really good offensive line this year, or at least a good offensive line, an average offensive line, right? So I think Colorado should at least kick the tires on him coming back. I think people need to have some grace, maybe forgive him for thinking that there's a better opportunity out there, and just move on like it didn't happen, because guess what? Things happen, right? We make decisions, we make mistakes, and I'm not saying it's a mistake, but he thought it was a better decision for him, a better opportunity for him financially, and he made that decision. I don't think we should hold that against him. When we come back, should Colorado and Nebraska be played every single season? I think so. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at the Locked On Podcast Network. Obviously, the network that puts the show out. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. We are also brought to you by FanDuel. Now, let me tell you about FanDuel, because if you're not on it already, you're missing out, and there's a chance for you to win some money. And we all like money, right? The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. I mean, we saw Tyrese Halliburton's potential game winner yesterday, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways, than ever to ever play smart and win big. Mouthful right there. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Should Colorado and Nebraska be played every single season? Now, they're scheduled to play, or they were scheduled to play last year, the year before. They gave us 2 great games. And now I don't think they're on the schedule for quite a while, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, you have to sort of understand that, like, hey, rivalries are good for college football. And it's one of those things where the way college football is constantly changing. College football is obviously always changing. But again, why do we have to get rid of the rivalries? Why do we have to free ourselves of the traditions that made the sport great? I don't understand that part. I really don't, because at the end of the day, we as a sport always, or at least I feel like this was sort of the motive or the vibe, was college football wasn't the NFL, right? Now players are getting played, which good for them. I feel like they always deserved it. It's cool. But players are getting played. There's a lot of movement. A lot of people don't like that. There's conference realignment where it's like, okay, now UCLA and Rutgers are in the same conference. And it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense. And now Miami's got to travel to Stanford. And there's just so much changing. And there was a few good things that we had. And one of those was rivalries. And so we already lost Bedlam, Oklahoma State. We lost Texas versus Texas Tech. We lost pretty much everyone in the Big 12 versus Texas because everyone hates them. And we lose some of the Pac-12 rivalries. And now it's like, okay, we had this rivalry. It was renewed in 2013, 4-game series, 2018, 2019, then 2023 and 2024. And then now it's not on the docket. It was a great game each year, right? Colorado blows Nebraska out year one of the Deion Sanders era. And then Nebraska comes back this past year and blows out Colorado. And it's one of those things where I don't think people realize this, but college football, and by the way, 6.3 million viewers watched that game. In 2023, 8.7 million viewers. So a lot of people want to watch this game. It's not just like, hey, do it for the tradition. Like, people want to watch this game. It's a rivalry. But at the end of the day, what I was saying is I feel like we're getting to this point where it's like we're just throwing all traditions and rivalry aside, and it's like, okay, who cares, right? But if you're not a major program in college football, you know how hard it is. Like, if you're not Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, probably not even Miami anymore, there's probably 10 schools right now in college football where regardless of how good they are, regardless of whatever, they're going to be on TV. They're going to be popular. Everyone's going to talk about them. They're going to headline these shows, right? Alabama went 9-3 this past year, or 9-4, I think. 9-3, 9-4. And you would have thought they went 1-11, right? They were headlining every week, every show, because is Kalen DeBoer the next Saban, or is he going to be a complete failure? Did they mess up by hiring him? That was the debate, right? Texas, for the past, after 2009, the program was terrible until two years ago now. But still, people watch Texas. They were always on TV, blah, blah, blah. Like, these major programs don't have to worry about not being popular because guess what? They're popular, right? They have that historic popularity. They're huge brands. Schools around the rest of the country don't all have that. Colorado is one of the few that has a major brand. Is it viewed in the eyes of the average college football fan as like a historic college football program? And Nebraska was a blue blood. I feel like they probably are still considered that, but haven't lived up to that standard in quite a while. But like, I don't think specifically Colorado. I don't want to speak for Nebraska. If you're a Nebraska fan, let me know what you think. Sorry, I was reading a comment. Colorado doesn't have a rival in the Big 12. They don't, right? You can makeshift rivalries. Colorado, it was their problem in the Pac-12. They didn't have a rival. They never really fit in. And I do think they fit in the Big 12, but I don't know who the rival is. They don't have like a definitive, like, it's week, whatever, and it's rivalry week, right? They don't play Colorado State every year. That would be a good rivalry, but it's in-state. They're a group of 5, so at the same time, it's like you should blow the doors off of Colorado State every year. And the one rival that they have where everyone gets up for it, where it's like, don't wear red, like the people in Nebraska are like avidly hate Colorado. It's like, we're not going to bring it back. We're not. Oh, okay. That's weird. So I think Colorado, Nebraska need to figure out a scheduling agreement. I know everything these days is very self-serving. So it's like, okay, but what does it do for me? Like if you're Colorado and Nebraska, mostly Nebraska, because I feel like the Big Ten kind of has this mindset. Like, what does it do for me, right? Well, one, it's going to get a lot of viewers. Everyone wants viewers. Two, you get to play on the biggest stage, which is part of the viewer thing. But most importantly, we get to keep a college tradition, right? You get to keep a traditional rivalry alive. And I don't know about you guys, and even if you're newish to college football, because I know there's some fans that have sort of joined the fandom of college football recently, you have to know or have to love, like, hey, it's kind of cool that these two teams, when they play each other every year, they hate each other no matter what. And regardless of how great or terrible they are, right? Both teams were bad in 2023. Both teams were pretty solid last year, right? So I think they should play every single year. Joel Klatt said the same thing. I'm all for keeping traditions alive in college football because I'm not loving this trend of like, okay, we just lost. It's Tuesday. We just lost another tradition. Okay, it's Thursday. We are no longer doing spring games. It's like, I would just like to keep a couple things sacred. And this feels like a prime opportunity to keep something sacred, have some fun. And I mean, who doesn't love a rivalry? It's fun. There's animosity. There's beefs. We all love beef and drama. So I don't know why we're pretending like we don't care about rivalry. So you comment below, should we keep this rivalry, Colorado versus Nebraska? If not, tell me why you don't think it should happen. I think it should. When we come back, there's some legal issues at BYU that may change the landscape of the Big 12. But first, a quick break. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcast. And let's just get right into it. The Big 12 is experiencing, I guess, a little bit of a serious issue. There's a quarterback by the name of Jake Retzlaff at BYU, who, I mean, he was a key part of their success last year, and now he's in trouble, possibly in trouble. His career possibly could be over, depending on how this investigation goes. But according to ESPN, a Utah woman has alleged that BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff raped, and there's trigger warning, strangled and bit her. And then she was encouraged by Provo police not to do anything after reporting it. It says a year and a half after the incident, she works to process what happened and move on. And Jake Retzlaff's attorney is saying that he's factually innocent. And it says this year his focus will be on football. He says we don't try cases in the media. We will respect the process and establish Jake's innocence through the judicial system. Obviously, this is something that is concerning because, one, you never want to deal with any legal issues, especially not of this variety. So I hope the victim is okay. In terms of Jake Retzlaff, the BYU has a strict honor code. They operate under a rigorous honor code, which includes students, athletes, everyone in between. They sign this. Everyone's agreed to it. So it can lead to a dismissal. He hasn't been charged anything criminally yet. That being said, if he does end up getting in trouble, it's uncertain what his future looks like at BYU. And so from one perspective, it's like you hope this situation, you hope there's justice to be found, right? That's all we could do on the legal side of things. And then on the other side, when you're looking at it from the football perspective, if Jake Retzlaff is no longer on with BYU, I think that takes out a major contender in the Big 12. They did just sign Bear Bachmeier, the Stanford quarterback, transfer, 4-star, brought in his brother Tiger. And so it's one of those things where it's a really serious matter. I think there's going to be a lot of things that come out of this case, and we're going to follow it every step of the way because this is probably the big story in the Big 12 right now. And it dramatically affects everyone in the Big 12, but more so importantly, someone's life. And so it's really one of those things where you hate to see it happen, and you just hope that justice is served in a situation like this. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Locked on Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys tomorrow.